And we're live.
Alrighty, hey all, and welcome back to HFC All-Stars. We have just passed $2,000 raised for Child's Play. You can hear the emotion in my voice. It wasn't that I was trying to do an intro and it caught in my throat or anything. No. I'm just very happy right now. But in all seriousness, we got some crazy donations during the last game. Thank you all so much. Now, though, Volk is going to be playing a few rounds of Risk of Rain 2. I'm just going to be here handling the chat and stuff because you're in full screen mode, is that right?
I am. Since we met last, I have gone a bit of an upgrade to my computer system. So aside from obviously going through the process of upgrading my desktop, I have also purchased a fancy new ultra-wide monitor. So gone is the time where I relied on two monitors. Now I have the one ultra-wide job, and I tell you, for the sake of just playing video games, it is so fucking juicy. So you might notice that the viewpoint you have on the stream right now is a little bit different from what you used to, but hopefully it'll look very, very swish. But let me just get into things here with my boy, the Bandit. And we'll get started with a bit of Risk of Rain 2. So, for those of you who don't perhaps know what this game is and what it involves, it is a sequel to the similarly named Risk of Rain, and is a roguelike where you go across various lands on this planet that you have crash-landed onto, and so you struggle to find a means of escape, trying to fight all the indigenous wildlife using probably what I could best describe as like very MOBA style controls. So you sort of like have a mouse 1 attack, a mouse 2 attack, a utility skill which is sort of like a dash or some kind of a dodge technique, and then you also have a special skill which is usually something that's like pretty much unique to everybody.
Okay, so that's what the game is about. Why did you pick it for HFC All-Stars? What is it about it that appeals to you? What is it about it that basically speaks to your gaming sensibilities?
It is more or less perfect as far as like a roguelike goes, because Risk of Rain 1 wasn't like this at all. It was a sort of a 2D experience, but when they announced that they were going to do a second game and that it was going to be a three-dimensional game, I was a little bit concerned, I wasn't going to lie, because obviously when things go from like 2D to 3D, it like loses a lot of its identity. And in this case, it actually somehow enhanced it, and to this day, I still have no idea how it even managed that, but everything from the original Risk of Rain is still there, so you have your regular enemies, you have your elite enemies, you've got big-ass bosses, and a lot of the items as well are also very unique. So, for the most part, every weapon, from my experience, usually does something, like, fairly substantial. So it's not like the Binding of Isaac, say, for example, where you got an item that's, like, very sort of... This does, like, a very, very small amount for you, but in this game, more or less every item, especially with the DLC that came out about a year or two ago, even the items that were previously deemed, like, useless usually get some kind of a push thanks to, like, a corruption mechanic or something similar.
Okay.
So in this case, what I picked up earlier was a corrupted version of a teddy bear, which usually it would give you a chance to reduce incoming damage to nothing. So you basically get, like, a dodge chance, almost. Whereas the corrupted version changes it from like a set chance to a set time. So you'll block a hit, but then you'll have like an internal cooldown before it comes back up again. So yeah, so to get back to what I was saying about the corrupted items. So the way that corruption works is that you usually have a set number of items that can have corrupted versions. And you may think that it just enhances the item straight up, but it does a little bit more than that. In that it enhances the item, but it also corrupts not only every version of that item you currently have, but also all ones you pick up in the future. So it's essentially a permanent trade-off. So you're trading off, like, this version of the item for this version of the item, and that's pretty much what you got going for you for the rest of the run.
Okay.
So you may find that sometimes that works to your favor, but sometimes, for instance, one of perhaps the more polarizing ones is the glasses, which normally increase your crit chance by a set amount. But the alternate version gives you a small % chance for each one you have to basically instantly kill the enemy. And sometimes that's not always preferable, because it's a small chance to insta-kill that doesn't work on bosses versus perhaps eventually guaranteed critical hits.
Right.
So you can guess, like, some people might prefer crits as opposed to just being able to insta-gib things.
So what exactly is the mission statement for this particular stream, mate? Like, are we doing a single run, a couple of runs? I'm not actually, like, familiar with the gameplay loop at Risk of Rain, so I don't know where it actually ends, per se.
Okay, so I gave myself enough time with the estimate to go for a couple of runs, barring for, like, bad luck and things like that. And the idea is that we're just trying to escape the planet. So there's about 3 endings to the game, so it doesn't necessarily matter which one we go for, but my hope is that we will be able to end a run by beating Mithrix and successfully escaping the planet. So essentially like the main goal of the game. But there are other endings in the game as well that involve going to the Void Portal, and also an Obliterate ending, where normally that's just you blowing yourself up to escape the coldness of the planet that you're on that you know that you'll never escape from, which sounds a bit morbid, but, you know.
Whoa.
Risk of Rain 1 ending was sort of a bit like that, sort of like the whole, like, futility of it all, like you're trying to escape from somewhere that you cannot escape from, and you almost kind of like the antagonist, because you're killing, like, thousands upon thousands of things here, like, trying to survive, yet that was never really in the pack of cards to begin with.
Is there a reason you've kind of hunkered down in this one particular area?
Well, when you open up a boss portal, which is this teleporter thing over here, that's when the boss will spawn. And you may notice that there's a progression bar at the bottom here. So the idea is that you're supposed to stay within a set circle, so you might see the red outline over here. So you need to stay within that circle to progress the teleporters so that you can go to the next area. Now there's nothing stopping you from going outside it, so say if you're fighting the boss and you want to take cover, like there's nothing stopping you from going outside to perhaps gain a more advantageous area, find some cover, whatever you need to do to survive. But you won't actually progress the teleportation progress unless you're actually in that area. So obviously you can't just hang around outside forever, you do eventually need to sort of go into that area and face the hordes of enemies that are obviously trying to stop you from leaving. So usually what I try to do is, the first level especially, you don't tend to get enough currency to like open the chests and things like that without taking a lot of time to just kill things, and you may notice that not so much that we're on a timer, but as time goes on the difficulty is going to get even tougher. So we have a normal difficulty setting, which is what you see in like the logo where it says stage 2 level 3, for instance. And then below that, the game gets progressively harder the more time goes on. So at the moment we're on easy, but we're creeping very, very closely toward medium now. And obviously that will give us tougher enemies to fight, more elites. And I think as well, because the enemies are tougher, they drop slightly more cash, so there is a little bit of a trade-off, but generally speaking, you don't want to hang around too much, because eventually that just gets into the hardest part, and then you're just being assailed from all sides by, like, bosses and uber elites, and God knows what else that really, 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 really want you dead.
Yeah, that's kind of a trade-off a lot of times in these roguelike games, and actually, as a follow-up to why you brought this game into HFC All-Stars, are there any roguelikes besides Risk of Rain that you either really enjoy or play regularly?
Well, I still play a little bit of Binding of Isaac from time to time. Not like a huge amount, but, you know, sometimes it's something I come back to. But usually it's like Risk of Rain 2 that I find myself going back to more than any other. As far as what I've been playing recently, a lot of it has been like monster taming stuff, sandboxy games, RPGs, things like that. So I guess I've kind of taken a break from the roguelike stuff just because there's like so much new stuff coming out that sort of fits what I'm really looking for in video games right now, which is when I come home to work, I don't want to be like busting my ass over something. I just want to sit down, have like a comfy progress in an RPG, or maybe do a couple of things in like a sandbox game like Satisfactory or something like that.
Right. That's kind of similar to a game I'm playing now called Dredge, where you're essentially a fisherman and there's some creepy Cthulhu-esque stuff happening in the background.
Oh yes, I've actually heard about that game. From what I've seen, it looks quite fun. So, what are your initial thoughts on that one? Because I haven't really had any like acquaintances pick it up, so to speak.
I'm pretty early days in it. I've gone fishing. I've gotten a couple of upgrades for my boat. I rescued a dude by going out late into the night and, as far as I could see. Not recommended, by the way. My paranoia meter was off the charts at the time, so I had to find a place to sleep and sleep for a long time to get rid of it.
Oh dear. Sounds like a very different version of Subnautica, except there's a lot less Leviathans involved and more sort of eldritch beings from beyond the black.
I don't know, man. I was looking at the different types of fish, and one of them said abyssal, so I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Oh, they brought in the abyssal hunters from Arknights then. Brilliant.
Jesus.
But yeah, a lot of the stuff I have been playing... Actually, I'm not sure if, like, Vampire Survivors is classed as a roguelike, because obviously that's like, you just survive for 30 minutes and then death comes along and kills you, but obviously games like that are something I've been playing a fair amount of too, because they're just very quick and easy sort of dopamine farms.
Yeah. Actually, let's see what Wikipedia has to say about the Vampire Survivors genre.
I know it basically pioneered it, whatever they're classing it as these days.
It says roguelike and shoot 'em up.
Well, there we go. Well, if that's a roguelike, I'll take it. I've been following that game since like the very early access, so I'm pretty sure I've 100%ed that game no less than 8 times. When they come up with an update and then add a bunch of achievements, just like, well, looks like I'm playing Vampire Survivors for a few hours again. Yeah.
And speaking of roguelikes, one of the only ones I can think of off the top of my head that I've played in recent years is Enter the Gungeon. I was a pretty big fan of that. I could never get super far, and definitely could never get the true ending for the character I picked.
So you haven't been able to shoot the past.
No.
Yes. Oh, I remember that from the Spot PC app as well. That was a good romp. I have to admit, I haven't played it in ages, but I know they've come up with an Exit the Gungeon recently that I haven't had a chance to have a proper look at yet.
Yeah, and there's also the arcade game.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if that is actually Exit or if that's something completely different.
Well, Exit is where you're going up instead of down.
That's right. So I meant to be a prelude, like, you've shot the past, now what the hell do you do?
Oh, really? Cadence of Hyrule, that's pretty good. It's the spin-off to... oh god, what the hell is the name of that thing, Bog? I'm pretty sure we did an episode on it.
Oh, viral.
Crypt of the Necrodancer, that's it.
Yeah, that's the one. Where I didn't show the main character in any capacity because I just put the Shulk and Jotaro mods on. Oh, that was a good time. Crypt of the Necrodancers also had the Candace of Hyrule, like, semi-recently as well, so that's had a bit of a resurgence of late.
Yeah, that's basically what we were just referring to, but
hey. What else has, like, come out in roguelikes? There's Returnal, which I think is considered a roguelike. And that was a PS5 launch title, or at least it was very close to a launch title, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, let's have a look here. 11 best new upcoming roguelike games of 2023 according to GameRanks. Homeworld 3.
Not heard of that one.
Rogue Soulstone.
No. I'm probably going to draw a lot of blanks on these, to be honest, but, it's just nice to hear that there's still so many being made.
Well, if you don't know this one, I will be greatly surprised. Darkest Dungeon 2.
No, heard of that one.
Good. For the King 2.
For the King, I think I have the first game of that one, but I haven't had the chance to actually play it yet.
Everspace 2.
Everspace... The name rings a bell, but I probably wouldn't know until I actually saw it.
Stick It to the Stick Man.
Stick It to the Stick Man. Oh, that sounds like something very similar to, is it Fear and Loathing with, like, the weird stick figures that make you walk funny?
Well, there's actual stick figures, but you're apparently in, like, a corporate environment and you have to come out on top.
Ah, okay. Well, if it is stick figures, it wouldn't surprise me if it was made by the same people, because I think Fear and Loathing is one of those games that's, like, very, very fun for the memes, and is just very funny and clever in general.
Endless Dungeon.
Endless Dungeon? Yes, I've heard of that one, but partly because I played the shit out of Endless Space 2 and Endless Legend.
Fair enough. A Delicious Dungeon.
Delicious Dungeon? Okay, not heard of that one.
Approval.
Approval... Well, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Spells and secrets.
Spells and secrets. No, not heard of that one either.
I would imagine that showed up at the Wholesome Games Direct at one point.
Oh, the thing that's on... Like, they got like a whole sale going on at the moment, haven't they?
Mm-hmm. And the last one on this list is Escape the Mad Empire.
Escape the Mad Empire. No, I've not heard of that one either. So it sounds like there's a lot of up-and-comers then.
Indeed.
Yeah. To be honest, like, I've been a lot tied up with, like, a mix between Final Fantasy 16, Baldur's Gate 3, Armor's Core 6 when that comes out, and the 2 or 3 monster taming games I played through recently. They've consumed a good majority of my time, and
yeah,
they are very fun. Like, Monster Sanctuary and Cassette Beast is, like, some of, like, the most Pokemon-adjacent fun I have ever had.
I'm kind of looking forward to that Pal World game. I wonder if it's actually going to stick the landing and not just be a meme.
I'm hoping it does, but some people know their previous history and are maybe not too confident. But they're sitting on something potentially great here, just in terms of, like, the gimmick alone. So I feel like they're not going to be the sort that sort of misses out on an opportunity like that.
Because there's, like, a lot of Pokemon-style games. I can't think of many Pokemon parody games.
No, oh no, well, maybe Nexomon might be considered as such, but that's not so much a parody, but it borrows a lot from Disgaea's style of storyboarding and writing. So, like, there are some things where it's just, like, very obvious meta thing, like you hold up a thing saying, I got the X badge, and, like, they just look at you going, why are you holding your hand up? So, it has a lot of stuff like that, but, you know, it's more just the writing style just sort of being tongue-in-cheek more than being, like, a direct parody. Alrighty, so this one's actually worth noting because we've actually stumbled upon something called a gold portal, which is something that is very expensive to activate, but when you do, you get taken to this mysterious place. And there's actually an additional boss that you can fight here, which drops you a set item, and this guy here, who is very, very annoying. Please leave me alone. There we go. So for this one, you've got to collect enough money to activate these pillars here, but you have to activate a certain amount before they actually spawn the boss, and you can only actually damage the boss once they're all active. And he's very much akin to that Stone Golem boss that we fought earlier. So, like, very similar sort of movesets and things like that. But obviously a fair bit more deadly. But he does give us something very, very nice as a reward, so it's well worth doing. Yep.
Yeah, you got it.
Bloody well hope so. There's a lot of stuff going on here.
How much practice did you put in for this particular run, by the way?
Well, since I decided I was going to do it, I probably put in about 20 hours, maybe. You know, just every so often, like, I'd come home from work, I'd, like, maybe do a run, see how far I'd get. And, you know, whether I won or lost, that'll sort of be, like, me for the day when I sort of do a run and then either succeed or fail.
Yeah, well, that's the cool thing about roguelikes. You can just pop in, do a run. If you're successful, great. If you're not, just try again next time, really.
Yeah, it's like one of those things that's like very quick and easy to get into. You don't necessarily need to like plot an entire day like you would like an RPG. So, for Final Fantasy 16, for instance, like ideally I'd want to have like a day off to play something like that and just sort of have a good few hours to go through it, as opposed to just when I get home from work, because like I cannot be bothered to just absorb story. I just want to, you know, just relax and kill stuff or build a thing. Like, looking into the nuances of fantasy RPGing is not usually high up on the cards for me.
Yeah, you kind of need a run-up for that sort of thing.
You see, that's the thing, because I just thought it was a sign of me getting old, just because I felt like in my youth I could probably do that no problem, but of course these days maybe I'm just being picky, I don't know. Maybe. Anything to not admit the passage of time is the culprit. Alright, let's actually activate some of these pillars, because we've got a bit of dosh on us now. We can probably get this thing spawned by now. So, let's have a venture around. Alright, I should probably talk a little bit about what I'm actually using character-wise. So, this is the Bandit, and his passive ability lets me get more damage with back attacks. And on top of that, I also have a handy-dandy shotgun, which does lots of damage up close, as you can imagine, but there's nothing stopping you from using it at a distance. I've also got a melee attack on my right click, and my dash attack sort of turns me invisible briefly, and gives me a bit of a boost in speed. And my R attack is what I've been using a lot, is the revolver, and this one in particular is an alternate version of the revolver. So as well as having like a default loadout, you can actually unlock extra abilities to use as you go through the game and do specific challenges and achievements. And one of the ones I picked up for the revolver, whenever I kill an enemy with it, it actually gets 20% stronger. So you can imagine after a while, if you kill enough enemies with it, it becomes insanely powerful. Just trying to be careful here because this laser is rather deadly, and I'd rather not be caught in the crossfire of that one. But of course now I'm getting all these meaty back attacks on it, which is fantastic. There we go. No problem at all.
Indeed, so I gotta say, you wanted me to hear the music for this, and I've been pretty impressed so far.
Oh yeah, the music is just out of this world, especially like, oh, when we get to like Mithrix in particular, like that is by far and away one of my favorite songs in this entire game. And a lot of these songs actually are like remasters or remixes or references. It's like usually one of those free things to songs that were in the previous game. But some of them, but they sound like unique enough of their own that unless you literally heard the originals like non-stop, you would never assume. But I can't remember the guy's full name. I think it was like Ben something or other. But yeah, he does incredible music for this game.
Let's have a look here. I can find out the composer's name. Chris Christodoulou.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Probably pronounced horribly on my part. I apologize.
I'm sure it's alright. So what we're staring at the moment is something they added in the DLC called a Void Seed. And in a similar vein to how they added all these corrupted items, they also add these little spheres of influence, where obviously there's like massive corruption spikes that we have to deal with. And usually that involves killing a set amount of enemies that become corrupted, but because of the nature of corrupted enemies, you may have noticed like those ticks we occasionally get when we open one of those corrupted chests. When you defeat a corrupted enemy, one of those pop out, and they'll immediately try and seek the nearest thing to try and take over. So not only do you have to contend with killing all the enemies that are corrupted, you need to kill the little termite-type thingies that are causing the corruption to begin with.
Right.
And it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but, you know, we find a way. And furthermore, if we went into that bubble, we would be continuously taking damage until we died. So it is a not nice place to be in. So generally speaking, you want to, like, take care of it from a distance, is usually the play. Let's see if this might help us. Let's call some drones, see if we can get them up there to help things out a little bit.
Julio.
So on top of the basic abilities and such that you have, you can also find equipment, which is usually mapped to your Q button. And some of those provide passive effects, but for the most part, usually it's an active effect that like gives you a bunch of drones or increases your critical hit for a set amount of time. It might give you more health, or it might just do something like launch an ass load of missiles at your enemies. So they all have like pretty neat effect. Yeah. Oh yeah, the missile is like one of my favorites because there's actually an item that synergizes with it that makes it shoot even more missiles. It's great fun. So here we are. I get a little bit of a closer look at what the Void Seed looks like. So usually for the most part the enemies are like within this general area, but sometimes they tend to escape outside like this guy. So sometimes you gotta venture around a little bit in order to actually find all the corrupted enemies and get rid of them. But thankfully it gives you like a handy dandy tracker so you can actually see how many are left to kill, so you're never really lost. And I think when you get to like 3 or 2 remaining, it'll actually point out on the map where they are. So like you can see those little purple dots that are pulsing sort of roughly in that direction. That shows you where the last of the corrupted denizens are, but that means we need to venture upwards a bit. So we're going to have to kill those and then come back for the goodies that are inside of the Void Seed.
Okay, well, while you're just going around and picking people off, I will remind you all we do have a, like, marathon-wide raffle going on right now for a Steam code of Sonic Frontiers. Every $5 donation you make gets you one more entry on the raffle sheet. So basically, if you donate $25, you get 5 entries. There's no limit to how many entries you can get via donations, so the more you donate, the more of a chance you have to win. And of course, every penny helps to support Child's Play, which is the organisation we've been supporting for many years. Basically because, you know, video games, it's kind of our thing. And, you know, if it can help to support children staying long-term in hospital, which is a boring experience on its own, if you're a child, it's essentially mental torture at times, you know, all the better, really. So the donate button is beneath the stream window. If you want to leave a comment, please do so, especially if you want to be entered for the raffle, but that is $5 minimum.
Ooh, wonderful. Alright, so I found one of these passive equipment items that I was talking about earlier. So this is called the... Well, this is basically a credit card. And you know we had those, like, multiple choice thingies from earlier? Where, like, you got a choice between, like, 3 items, you pick one, and then it gives you that item, but then closes off the rest. And this handy-dandy little card lets us actually take all 3 options. Obviously, provided we have the money to get all 3 to begin with. So this will allow us to get even more items over the course of a run. And the earlier you get it, the better. So at this point, where we're only on level 3... we're going to get a lot more extra items over the course of this here run. Which all goes a long way, because you need all the help you can get when you get to Mithrix, I can tell you that for nothing. Right, so we took care of the Void Seed, so we should probably go back over that and see to grabbing all the goodies from there. All the while powering up our revolver. So usually with this particular loadout I like to spend a little bit of time, especially in the later maps, just revolvering whatever I can just to boost it up. Because when you get to the boss, obviously you're not going to get like any further damage increases on kills or anything like that. But if you can get it up high enough, you can do a lot of damage with just one shot. And considering it's only on a 6-second cooldown as well, it adds up to a lot of damage. Speaking of which, these burning heads are not being very nice to me. Wait for my shield, and then we can get this one. It's a nice thing when you got like a damage prevention thing, because things that take like a set amount of your health, if you take it while you got a shield up, you can literally just eat the shield with it and just be absolutely fine.
Nice.
Alright, let's get out of here then. Fight the boss. Who we got? Imp Overlord. So this is the guy I was talking about. This is our reward for doing the gold thing earlier. So we get like, he basically comes along and he helps us, and he does a lot of damage and is a gigantic damage sponge. So you can just basically leave him to have a big old kaiju battle with the boss, and you just go around and just pepper the boss with whatever you have on hand to kill him. So
he essentially acts as a familiar, I suppose?
Yeah, but the caveat being is that he only spawns during the boss portal event, so...
Okay, right.
He helps us out for these, and he is insanely good at what he does, so... If we had him all the time, it would be a bit silly. Also, considering his size, probably best he's restricted to these sort of events, because otherwise it just gets a bit messy.
Flaming Claw says, remember we have a donation poll ongoing for which of the Myth Girls he'll be opening the Hollow Cure run with. That's the run that's up after Risk of Raid 2. It's the next game of the marathon, so this is your last chance to get your choice in. When you actually donate, you should see some choices for what you want to put your donation towards.
Yeah, that was an important one. It's your one chance to prove your loyalty to Hiroshi, so don't let her down.
Yeah.
You can actually get a closer look at this guy as well. Very shiny.
This guy looks like a pile of rocks to me, honestly.
But they're gold! It immediately makes it more prestigious. There we go. Once the teleportation event's over, he buggers off. Sort of leaves us to it, and we'll meet him again very, very soon. So, the 4th stage, no matter which version, because with the stages you have with the DLC you get 3 possible variations as to what it can be, and stage 4 is particularly special because it is the only stage where you can get a guaranteed legendary item. So you may notice we've been picking up white, green, and then obviously pink for the corrupted items. So legendary items are red. And usually these ones are like extremely powerful, and if they're not sort of like very powerful in terms of like rounding off a build, they are oftentimes in themselves build defining. So they are pretty damn strong, but the way in which you get them on each of these stages is different. So I believe for the other 2 variants, it's just a case of you need a boatload of money to open the gold chest that they're contained in. But in this one, we actually have to go on a bit of a Easter egg hunt. So there's these egg nests around, and if we kill them all, that will actually spawn the boss. And the boss, once we kill it, will actually give us the legendary item in question for entirely free. So we don't necessarily have to spend any money, but we do have to put in a fair amount of effort in order to get it. So it sort of evens itself out. Now, I don't want to get too close to this guy because Mr. Jellyfish is very, very deadly. Because usually about this health point, he will charge up like a Nova attack and essentially explode a wide area around him, and it does a lot of damage. So I'm trying my best not to get too close. I think he'll do it. Nope, he's dead before he gets a chance. Wonderful. Right, let's bring up a turret here to help us out. So aside from picking up items as well, you find like sentry guns and drones and other such goodies along the way, and for a set fee you can actually activate them. So we've got a sentry gun here which stays in place and it just guns down everything that comes remotely close to it. But you can also pick up like healing drones, gunner drones, missile drones, and all sorts of fun nonsense. And oftentimes you can actually round that off into a build on its own if you just collect drones the entire time and you just sort of sit back and let all your drones do the work. And there's actually a couple of items that help facilitate that build. So if we find something called Colonel Drone Man, then at that point we want to be finding as many drones as humanly possible, because that just makes him stronger.
Is that his actual name, or did you just make that up?
No, his name is actually Colonel Droneman. And it's a special drone that has like its own like array of weaponry. But as well as increasing the attack of all your drones, it gives all your drones an additional missile attack. Yes, even the healing drones. So basically your healers go, I'm a healer, but, and then just arms himself with a missile launcher.
Oh, Axel Ryman says, oh, I've missed Volk screaming.
Aw, thank you. I mean, obviously it's been quite a bit busy for me now that I've actually gotten to a position where I'm like a supervisor for like an actual retail shop. Like, I've been getting like boatloads of money from it, because obviously now I'm also working full time, but it hasn't really left me with a lot of like spare time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's the trade-off, isn't it, mate?
Nah. It's like a thing where, sure, you get like a couple of days off, but depending on when those days off come, you're just like in a position where it's just like, I don't really want to do anything, I just want to sleep and catch up with like housework and what have you. But it has done me quite some wonders, because it's actually let me save up very, very quickly. And, you know, the trip to Japan that I've sort of like talked to myself about for a fair amount of time now is actually potentially a reality whenever I want to spring the cash on it. So, you know, that is the trade-off, as you say. I mean, you get a little bit less time, but you get more money to like do more substantial things, like actually go abroad to a place that seems like it could be a ripping good time.
Ah, yeah, so a rip snorter, if you will.
Indeed. Alright, so here's the boss in question, the Alloy Worship Unit. Now this guy's a bit annoying. He's a bit like the jellyfish in that he will like slowly creep towards you, but he also spawns these extra dudes which will try and sponge up attacks, and he also has was more or less the equivalent of like the Command and Conquer's sort of like particle cannon. So occasionally he'll just blow up a section of the map, and you still have to try and run away from it. But thankfully we got a dash attack, and we got a decent amount of damage in us, so we should be able to take him down with a relative degree of ease, if we're careful.
Okay. Is there actually fall damage in this game?
Yes, there is. And it's actually a funny thing to that, because there's actually a way you can manipulate it, so to speak. So fall damage is based on like your height from like your last jump. So if you got a double jump, you can do the usual pattern to double jump just before you hit the floor to just not take damage at all. Shields that prevent damage altogether also go a long way towards helping. But the thing is, it does damage based on your health. So it's also based on your max health, I believe. So if you have a item in the game that trades off all of your health for shields, which exists by the way, you can actually make it so that all fall damage only does 1 point of damage to you. But there's also characters in the game that also completely mitigate fall damage, so there's a couple of characters that sort of like make it their specialty to like not get completely fucked over by fall damage, because in the character that I'm talking about's case, like, they're a very melee-centric character, so they do a lot of, like, mobility stunts with, like, zip lines and things like that. And obviously, if you're taking fall damage as well, like, a beginner's just gonna keep falling to their deaths every single time, which is not necessarily what you want. You want to make them accessible, but still challenging. And I think they managed to get a nice middle ground with that. So here's our legendary item. So from now on, anytime we get extra healing, it actually puts it into a shield. So no healing is wasted anymore. So we always get something like a temporary shield to actually make use of it. So if we find any more healing items, we may want to prioritize those. So if we find a 3D printer that has a really, really good healing item in it, we may be inclined to actually go and just like deposit everything we can into it.
Alright, well, while you pause and take a breath, I'm going to go and talk to the lovely people in chat about the incentive block. The incentive block is, as you might expect, a block of gaming streams that's going to be happening after the conclusion of the main block of HFC All-Stars. It's basically day by day, roughly about 5 days in all, one for every grand that we raise for Child's Play, and you guys, amazingly so far, for day 4 of the marathon out of like 14 days, have unlocked 2 of those. The first day, you unlocked Metal Gear Rising Revengeance and Fez, which is a pretty neat combo, and then for day 2, which we unlocked just before starting Risk of Rain 2, is Chrono Trigger. That's going to be a pretty fun stream.
I mean, when I first posited the idea for sort of like an all-star style marathon event, I thought there must be someone out there that's like a super fan of like Chrono Trigger now. Just go, hey, can I play this? And I'm glad that somebody did, because I'll freely admit that I wasn't at a time where I could sort of like play and appreciate Chrono Trigger. Like, obviously my RPG sort of virginity was broken by Final Fantasy VII.
What a way to phrase it. Are you a fan of Heretic, by any chance?
Heretic. Is that the first-person shooter series that sort of uses the Doom engine, but it's like fantasy-based and has like RPG elements in it?
I don't know anything that specific. I just wanted to relay a comment from a new first-time viewer who has possibly the best username I've read all week. Big_McLarge_Huge27.
That is a pretty legendary name, I won't lie.
Thank you, Chip Fizzleby.
But yeah, if Heretic's the game I'm thinking of that sort of spawned the Hexen series as well, then yeah, I played a little bit of that and I thought it was okay, but with Hexen in particular, there was a few too many button pressing puzzles for me to like really get into it, but I liked what it was going for. It like it pushed the limits of the Doom engine like more or less to its limits.
We were really barking up the wrong tree. Apparently Heretic is a survivor.
Path of the Heretic? Or no, I'm thinking of Halls of Torment for some reason. And yeah, no, I haven't actually heard of that one. No, I was thinking like, wait, is he referring to Halls of Torment? And then I was like, no, that's a completely different name, and I'm thinking about something completely different.
What could he possibly mean by this?
Alright, so we're at the, what would normally be the penultimate level of the game, but it being stage 5, and the penultimate stage, there's only ever one stage that you go to, which is this one. It can have different layouts, but the nature of it means that you've got a few different things that you can do here. So if you go to the bottom floor, you can actually do relic challenges, which sort of add mutators to your run. So depending on if you find codes across the course of you playing the game, you can input them, and that takes you to a special arena where the mutator is basically the main theme of the arena, and you have to sort of overcome it using the gimmick. So say, for example, you get like a glass cannon mutator where you deal like 400% more damage, but obviously your health is like cut down to like 10% or something like that.
For sure. Let's see. Silver Dude 5000 says, Tom, you forgot the most important incentive for an All-Stars marathon. How much do you get the HFC crew to sing All-Star from the Digimon movie, which is getting a redub, actually?
Oh, yes, I heard about it. Oh, God. I very nearly bought it, but thankfully I had just about enough health to survive. Thank you, Aegis.
It's okay. Just think of War Greymon and how cool he is.
Oh, yes. But yeah, they recently announced they were reanimating the second series, weren't they?
I think so. Chat, help us out.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I saw that, and it's like Davis, Ken, you know, all the characters from there, and obviously TK and Kari.
You forgot the best one, Wormmon.
Oh, Wormmon is so based. I love Wormmon.
No.
I think Wormmon was pivotal in Ken's face turn.
Oh, of course, yeah. Well, I mean, eventually you're gonna realize, holy shit, I'm an asshole, and I've been abusing this really kind Digimon all this time.
He also has some of the most badass Digi evolutions. Like Stingmon is like one of my favorite champion evolutions by far. And then obviously you got Pyildramon and Imperial Dramon, and that entire line I'm very much a fan of as well. I'm pretty certain I alluded to that fact during the Cyber Sleuth streams I did way back.
Yes indeed, yes indeed. I will say, for as much crap as O2 gets, I still love the back half of it, where they're going around the world and beating other Digidestined from other countries and whatnot.
Yeah, that was a lot. I mean, the first part of it was still fine too, because, you know, there was sort of revisiting like the older cast as well with their like own struggles, obviously having grown up a bit, etc. So, you know, that was quite nice. But I think when it was sort of allowed to stand on its own two legs and just like really lean hard into like all the Digidestined around the world, like that really helped it come into its own. And obviously like DNA Digi-Evolution was brought up a notch there with the Digi-Egg evolutions as well. Like Flamedramon was really badass, I thought, personally.
Yeah, I love the armor Digi-Evolutions.
Very nice.
Which kind of started in I don't know what the actual name of the movie, but for us it would be Digimon the movie, and then the third story in that with Rapidmon and Magnamon.
Yes, that one. And it's actually the first time I think we got to see the mega forms of Patamon and Gatomon as well. At least us plebs in the West anyway. They might have seen it a lot sooner, like over in Japan and what have you. But I think it was the first time we got to see Seraphimon and Magnamon. Or Magnamon.
Well, whatever. Did they end up changing Garamon's Mega Evolution down the line?
No, I'm pretty sure it's still the same. Me and him tried it, didn't change it at the very least.
Huh.
But you know, a lot of Digimon have like multiple paths, don't forget, so it may have been possible they had an alternate path.
I've played Digimon Survive.
Oh yeah, I suppose like the mega form of like Skullgreymon would be Machine Dramon, I suppose. Or at least I think that's what they intended.
There's so many Digimon, it's very easy to get confused, so I wouldn't worry about it.
That's the thing though, there's like probably half as many Digimon as there are Pokemon, yet I could probably remember the majority of the Pokemon, yet half the Digimon I just do not even know exist.
Okay, we're gonna test this. How many Pokemon are there? There are currently 1,008 Pokemon officially registered on the National Pokédex.
That's far too many, but also kind of cool.
How many Digimon are there?
I'm going to make a guess and say there's about 600.
As of the 31st of July 2023, so not that long ago, there are 1,469 Digimon listed on the Wikimon.
For real? There's actually more Digimon? Okay, I was genuinely not expecting that. That is incredible.
Yeah.
How are there so fucking many?
Oh, is that why O2 felt so, like, weirdly paced? Starbeck says, O2's issue was that they were literally writing by the seat of their pants because whenever they had a concept plan, TV network editors would suggest changes. That's a lot like the Android saga in Dragon Ball Z and the Cell Saga 2, I guess. Like, oh, we don't like this bug man. So, you know, they changed him to a more humanoid form. Oh, this guy's lips creep me out. Change him again, and so on and so forth.
Well, yeah, the Bridge series did allude to the whole lip thing. It's just like, wait, are we allowed to be offended by his lips? Yeah, obviously, like, this was sort of like the era of 4Kids as well, so there's like a lot of stuff that just straight up never makes it, because obviously Western audiences are too sensitive babies to handle that sort of thing. Heaven forbid. So yeah, I can easily see that. Alright, so you can probably tell we are getting close to the final difficulty stage. We have a road towards the end of I'm coming for you, and now going squarely into ha 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 territory.
I'm behind you.
Imagine if there just was a difficulty, like eventually just it will end the game sort of like a la Vampire Survivors, to just go I'm behind you now.
Yeah.
And then just kills you. But no, once it gets to ha 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 ha, it will just literally keep laughing at you until either you die or you beat the game. So we're pretty much at the point now where the game is probably as difficult as it's going to get. And this is like half the thing of like trying to rush. But I think the thing is, a lot of the times, even if you try to rush, you don't really put yourself in the position to actually beat the final boss. So you sort of have to find like this weird balance of either trying to find the right times to like spend in levels, or you just learn to cope and just get as much as possible, and then just deal with the fact you're going to be in ha 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 no matter what, and you just sort of have to do your best to just deal with it.
Yeah, learning to cope is a very useful tactic, guys. I recommend it.
It's something that I still struggle to learn sometimes, but, you know. I think a lot of people can relate to that. Right, so, you may notice as well the portal's slightly different as well compared to the other ones we've been visiting. And that's because in this particular one, you can actually change the direction of the portal so you can actually loop back to the first level. And obviously the first level will have more enemies, tougher enemies, etc, etc. But it does let you loop around the game multiple times. So if you did want to like have another go around and get a bunch of stuff, you absolutely can do that. And there's also like story benefits to doing multiple loops as well. So there's actually a couple of endings you can only get if you decide to loop. But we're not going for that today. We are keeping the eye on the prize, and we are going after the freaks. For better or worse. And thankfully we got our Aurelia Knight to help us take care of the boss over here, so we can just hang back, then come in to charge up the teleporter. There we go. In the warm, glowy, gilded embrace of my friend.
God bless.
He does a good job of protecting us, honestly. Just the fact he can just solo more or less any boss, like even in high loops, I don't think I've ever been at a point where he's not been able to take down a boss by himself. So, he is very, very good at what he does, to say the least. I was hoping we find more drones, to be honest with you. I've only got the one healing drone and a couple of turrets. I was kind of hoping for a wee bit more, but there's every chance we probably just miss shed loads, which is easy enough to do, because 3D planes, you tend to miss a lot of the minuscule things, especially when they're hiding in like foliage and shit.
Yeah, these areas do seem pretty spread out.
Although there is like items you can get as well to help with that. There's like radars and stuff that you can pick up that actually point them out to you, but you know, that's like one item out of potentially dozens, so you're not always going to have it to hand. But yes, pretty soon we'll be coming up towards my favourite tune in the game. Not necessarily my favourite level, because it's a bitch to traverse, and also Mithrix can be a right bastard even at the best of times, so don't be surprised if I die, but I'll do my best not to.
So we're going for this run and maybe one other.
Yeah, obviously if I fail, I've got a bit of a contingency plan thanks to one of those aforementioned mutators earlier, but if we get to that point, I'll explain it.
Okay, no.
But for now, you got a date with destiny, and we want off this goddamn planet.
Adri says, watch out for the pizza, that's all I'll say.
I'll do my best. Just want to drink this in a bit. So good. So something else worth noting is that this level was very different, like, from what it was on release. So when the game first came out, this played more just like a straight up gauntlet. So it wasn't like a wide open map or anything like that. It was sort of almost like a corridor that you just went through, and there was a bunch of shit in the way, and then eventually you make your way up to the high point of the map where you fought Mithrix. But this time, you've actually got to take care of things a little bit differently. So you'll see it as we come outside in just a second. But you'll see the crashed ship over there, and the tower up here. And there's these glowing points of interest over here, and those are what we need to go to, because those are pillars that we can activate, and we need to activate 4 of those in order to activate the bounce pads that'll take us all the way up over there. But of course, we gotta fight through some particularly tricky enemies in order to actually get there. Especially as we are now in the ha-ha-ha stage, they will do a very handy job of killing you if you let them for more than a couple of seconds. But we're going to make as best use of this as we can, because obviously this is how we're going to power up our revolver for Mithrix later on. So I'm going to try and manipulate them somewhat so that I can finish them up with the aforementioned revolver. You may notice the music starting to pick up a bit as well.
Oh yes.
There it is.
Hold this up a little bit on my end.
I highly recommend it. And his music was indeed electric.
Oh, I'm vibing. I'm vibing.
He's feeling the effects.
I love video games, Charlie. I love video games.
I can still remember vividly the first time I got to this area, and I was just blown away by the music almost immediately.
Music is probably the second most important component of a video game for me. Can you guess the first?
The first would obviously it being good to begin with.
The gameplay, yes.
Yes. But no, music plays a hell of an important role.
You can change the entire tone of something by changing a note here or there. That's how important music is.
Yep. Absolutely. Alright, so let's get the ukulele, or the polylute as it is known.
I know what a ukulele is, alright.
So this changes the ukulele to chance a single enemy repeatedly, which is what we ideally want for Mithrix. Seeing as we're not going to be dealing with multiple enemies anymore from that point on, we're going to be dealing with just one guy who very, very, very much wants us dead.
Just one guy.
Yep, just one dude with a hammer. Of course, we've got to get past all this first, which is much easier said than done, I must admit. Thankfully, we've got a way of healing ourselves, so that helps quite a bit. But what I'm actually trying to get to is an area just over here. And it contains, like, basically the only means of you actually picking up some items in this area. So you can actually trade off specific rarity items for something completely different. And so the plan will be to hopefully trade something like within our green items here for something nice in terms of a legendary. So we're going to see what they actually have available for us. We're not restricted by difficulty anymore because, well, we're already there. So We can afford to take our time a little bit.
We have broken our chains.
Yeah, obviously since we're, I think this is meant to be like a moon, or like a planet, somewhere like high up, because obviously the gravity is a bit lower here. So we are significantly floatier than we are perhaps used to normally.
What if it was the Moon Kingdom from Mario Odyssey? That'd be a bit weird.
It would. Just like suddenly it has a much more sinister undertone in this game.
Yo, Risk of Mario.
I mean, I won't lie. That might not actually be half bad. I mean, considering it's sort of combined itself with like XCOM with the Rabbids series, I mean, it wouldn't be the most unusual thing in the world.
I mean, you could technically call Mario 99 a roguelike if you want to really get pedantic about it.
Alright, the extra jump, that's something we'll probably want. Never underestimate the effects of extra verticality. Right. We should probably also get up one of these. Seeing as we've got some regenerating scrap. Which straight up reduces the cooldown of all our skills, which means we'll be able to fire a revolver a lot more frequently, which is ideal. Because right now the revolver is going to be what carries us in terms of damage. Right. So if I recall correctly, there's a bunch of light pillars in this direction. And we should probably use that to get the majority of our pillar activations to find a way to get off this damn rock. Can we actually get up there? Let's give it a try. Wait, never mind. Oh, wait, we actually lost our double jump. Hold on, we should probably get that back. There we go. Thinking about it, I probably shouldn't have gotten the legendary item first and then did it the other way around, but, you know, hindsight and all that.
Indeed.
Still alive, that's the important thing. Alright, so right here is where I'm thinking. Nice, nice. Our revolver's doing some decent damage. Yes, there we go. This is looking good so far. I have a reasonable degree of confidence. The benefit of multiple jumps.
My heart was kind of in my throat there.
It's alright, I knew I was good. Because the nice thing about the bandit's dash is that it does actually give you a little bit of extra height, so you can actually use that to get a bit more verticality.
Ah, okay.
Alright, so these are both blood shrines, which means we have to sacrifice a bit of health for these, so we're going to want to be careful here. Not sacrifice too much at once. Thankfully, with our reduced cooldowns, we actually have our dashes and our revolvers a lot more frequently than we did before, so it gives us a little bit more control in the battlefield. Let's go ahead and sack a bit more over here. We do also have our healing drone still as well, which also helps immensely in these sort of sections. But of course, the mission as always is to just survive. There we go.
You got this, right?
Yeah, I think if we can get to Mithrix, we should be okay. But like I said, Mithrix in himself is a right bastard even at the best of times. Should be another... Yep, there we go. Grab that one, and then the remaining two we should be able to get over there.
little bit intense now.
Oh yeah, usually at this point it does get a bit that way. There are some ways you can actually cheese this entire section, not even have to deal with any of this, but you need very specific items in order to do that. Like, one of the equipment items essentially lets you make a tether to go from one place to the other, and the range on it is unlimited, so you can actually just point it from the ground all the way to the top of that tower and then just use it to get up there that way. So you don't actually have to, like, go through any of these pillars or anything like that. But of course, we kind of want to do it this way just because it lets us power up our revolver, and any chance to be able to kill Mithrix in a few hits as opposed to several dozen just removes as much margin for error as possible just by being able to kill things quick, which, as we all know, is the most optimal form of defense. Can't take damage if the thing damaging you is already dead, you know. I don't know if you can notice it from your screen specifically, but you may also notice that it is in fact raining. The risk of rain has very much now become there is rain.
The proof of rain.
Proof of rain. The weatherman was right all along. We told you! You didn't listen.
It wasn't an alien planet, it was the UK.
It was British summer this whole time.
Christ, it was Hull all along.
Which, ironically enough, is pretty much how the weather is at the moment.
Yeah.
Went outside, rained buggery on me just while I was out to the shops getting myself some new laundry detergent. So yeah, you may notice like our normal attacks are doing barely anything, but the minute we use a revolver, like half their health just evaporates.
Yeah.
Especially if we get a crit, goddamn. More balls? You mean food for my revolver? Holy shit, where did you come from?
Oh man, I love hard drive. You know the Twitter account?
Vaguely?
They're the satirists that do all that kind of stuff and got into a beef with a certain owner of a certain social media site.
Oh, right, yeah.
I'm just reading this one article headline here. Please stop insulting me on my size. Our interview with tiny widow baby Tom Holland.
They do fantastic stuff. Just like I never knew gaming-themed onion was something I needed in my life, but occasionally I see it like pop up on like Discord feeds that I'm frequenting, and it's just like, oh, them hard drive guys are at it again.
Flame says, after streaming 06 for 10 hours straight in a heatwave last year, I couldn't be more thankful for the grey weather right now. I'll drink to that.
Hell yeah. Well, I grabbed my Pepsi, but I'm in a little bit of mortal peril at the moment.
My hands are killing machines right now.
Son of a bitch stole my kill. Oh, never mind, he brought me a fresh one.
He's on your side.
There we go. And see if we can take out this dude as well. God damn, these things are more durable than I give them credit for sometimes. There we go. Alright, let's get this thing pushed down. Ooh. Giant ice cube. Oh, more balls. Oh shit, a lot more balls.
Me when I enter the Sonic 3 and Knuckles special stage.
Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, 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 shit. Getting far the hell away from that.
A little bit too big for your boots there.
It was more the sudden damage, like those pools of fire, especially when they overlap on top of each other, they take huge amounts of your health. Alright, maybe we'll be safe now? We did lose one of our broken watches though, but thankfully it's just one, so we don't lose too much damage because of that. It's like one of those items where it's like each one gives you like a straight 20% damage boost, but the caveat being if you go low on health, it'll break. And there's no way to actually repair it.
Mm-hmm.
So usually what you do is, if you have access to them with like a 3D printer, a lot of people wind up doing is like stack as many of those as possible. But of course, if they ever go below low health, like, it's effectively over for them just because they went all in and now they're all broken.
Oh man, it's over. It's over.
Oh, it's Jover. I can't believe it. Alright, here we go. Now we gotta ascend. And this one's always a bit finicky because sometimes you hit underneath the tower and you just plummet back to the ground. So I'm gonna try and avoid that. There we go. Just give ourselves another jump just to make sure we don't die. Alright.
This looks final-ish.
Oh yeah, this is where Mithrix lives.
I love the way you phrase that. Yeah, this is his house. Just knock on the front door.
Yep. He doesn't take very kindly to visitors, though. Okay, that's good. If we can do 10% of his health with every revolver shot, we're in a good spot. As long as we can avoid dying. And one way we can avoid dying is by making use of these little ramps here. Yeah, you can't deal too well with the Z-axis, so we're going to abuse the hell out of that wherever we can.
Hey, you're on, mate. Your rules.
But we still have to be careful because he can kill you at a moment's notice. So we're going to do our best to make sure that doesn't happen. Happy with the damage that we're doing at the very least. Oh. See, this is the problem when you design a boss to be incapable of navigating stairs.
My one weakness.
My legs are broken, my kneecaps are stolen, I'm forever bound to a chair!
What the fuck?
Alright, so now we come to the mini-boss section, where they chuck a load of crap at us in an attempt to kill us with just regular jack-offs, so... we gotta deal with the regular enemies the same way as we have been doing. Nearing 40 stacks on our revolver now as well, so we got like, I think an extra 800% damage on our main skill, which is very nice to have.
Nice.
I mean, ideally I would like more survivability, but seeing as our survivability is a regenerating shield every few seconds, I'm actually somewhat okay with it, as long as I play it smart. Alright, I want to actually put myself in position where I can immediately safely take a pot shot of Mithrix when he comes back. Alright, here we go. Phase 2.
Oh boy.
Oh, he is very angry at me. thankfully, with a fairly low cooldown sprint, we can actually do a fairly decent job of getting some distance between us. Whoa! Hey! They want me dead something fierce.
Well, they sure do.
I hate that attack so much. Never fails to put the balls in my throat. No! I think there were too many ads. That's okay though. We did good. Alright. Let's give it one more go then. And I think I have something that might be able to help us out a little bit as well. So, these artifacts here are what we collect if we do those optional stages in the level 5. So one of them is called the Artifact of Command. And that actually lets us choose our items. Now, the caveat with that being that it does stop like 3D printing and things like that, but the ability to choose our build is oftentimes invaluable. So we're going to try it with that and see if we can't sort of get something here that will help us a little bit better than just the random assortment that we got earlier.
Okay, no.
But yeah. If you ever get to a position where you like lose against Mithrix quite often, I obviously wouldn't be too disheartened. There are people that have played this game for like 300 plus hours and still struggle against him. Like, he is like that notoriously sort of difficult. Which is fine, because like having a boss like that that's an actual challenge, like even that deep into the game is obviously quite nice, just to make sure it like doesn't become too easy.
Well, that's the point of a roguelike, for you to play it over and over until you beat it.
Yeah, but it doesn't really feel unfair either, is the main thing. Alright, so what we would like is a delicate watch to begin with. There's actually something else I want to look for now that we are going about this route, and it is a lunar portal, which takes us to a bazaar between time, which has some very nice optional goodies for us to potentially grab, but that involves finding the portal, which is not always easy. Guess also a crowbar. Still sweating a bit from the previous boss. It has that effect on you. It's just like, oh god, I almost had it. So yeah, I'm going to explore a bit more than usual, just in hopes of finding the lunar portal, which I desire.
Okay, no, mate. I guess what Flame could do in the edit is keep the first run intact, and then for this, after you've explained everything, basically cut to the next attempt.
Yeah, we could do. That is absolutely fine. I mean, obviously Flame knows a bit more about how to edit these things in post more than I do, so he'll come up with something, I'm sure. Whatever is better for the content.
The content.
They actually announced recently that they are doing something of a remake of the first Risk of Rain game as well, called Risk of Rain Returns, which sort of goes back to the 2D form that they had at the beginning, but obviously tuning it to be a little bit more accessible, because Risk of Rain 1 was a bit fiddly with the controls at times, because one thing you take for granted, especially if you go from Risk of Rain 2 to Risk of Rain 1, is the ability to aim. Like, you wouldn't think that would be such a big deal, but it actually is. It's insane. Alright, what do I want here? Fuel cell. That's what I want. Oop, that's the thing I'm looking for. So you may notice, like, below my money there's another currency type down there, and these are lunar coins, which are a rare drop from more or less any enemies, but also if you do the obliterate ending correctly, you can also get 10 more on top of that. And you use these to buy things in the bazaar between time. And these items are all special lunar items, which usually have a very powerful effect, with the caveat of doing something else. So, like, there's a negative effect also strapped to it. So you could end up with something like a glass shard, which increases your damage but reduces your maximum health. Or you could receive an item that puts your maximum health to 1, but then gives you all your health as regenerative shields. Which works great if you like the idea of having your health regenerate faster, but of course that means now all of your healing items that you picked up are completely worthless. Because why would you need to ever heal 1 health? So they have little effects like that. And one of the items that we're actually going to be grabbing with this is an item that lets us automatically use equipment, with the caveat being is that they will always use it as soon as it's off cooldown. So you essentially have no control over when it activates, but it will activate a lot faster. And we're going to combine that with something else, which I'll explain once I get it. In the meantime, we need to find that there boss portal. I'm pretty sure I already walked past it once. It's the trouble sometimes, you just forget where it is. It's just like, great, now where the fuck am I going?
I mean, you've had to reset your whole brain from, like, the final level to this.
Yeah, that probably doesn't help either, but trust me when I say this is also a problem that is fairly persistent. Like, some of these areas are quite expansive, and sometimes you'll walk past the boss portal very early on, and you'll think, well, I'm not quite ready yet. I should probably find a couple more items first, and then by the time you found a couple more items and think, okay, I think I'm ready to beat the boss now, and then you just completely lose your sense of direction.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny though, I won't lie. Another fuel cell, that's what we want. It's so much easier to sort of cherry pick your builds when you have the ability to choose your items as well. It's actually quite nice to have if you can unlock it early, if you're sort of just starting out, because it gives you an idea of like where like the good synergies are, and sort of like what items like work nice in like large quantities, and what items like you could probably get away with only having 1 of, for example. So you sort of learn more about like how deep these items actually operate and how to squeeze the most out of them. Hey, and another fuel cell. I think that's pretty much perfect, actually. If we get 3 fuel cells and then what we want at the Moon Bazaar, we should be pretty much rolling smooth.
Question for you, Vork.
Sure.
What do you think the Metacritic for Risk of Rain 2 is?
I'm going to take a stab and say I'm going to go like high 90s. I reckon something like 96, 97%.
It is actually 85.
Really? I thought this game would be like a lot more like universally acclaimed. But then again, roguelikes are like fairly niche as is, and like those sort of mechanics don't always jive nicely for people, so I can kind of understand at the same time, but this is just like genuinely a very high quality game, like in spite of that.
Yeah, 85 is fantastic.
Oh yeah, for Metacritic especially, it takes a lot to get into the 90s for like Metacritic, since it like obviously consolidates all like the major publications and things like that. And obviously some people are going to be a little bit more critical than others. Like, if you get a 90 on Metacritic on like any game, you know you've created something that's just like, even if it's not like universally loved, it's universally appreciated for what it is.
Yeah.
Let's pick up a missile. So one thing I haven't actually mentioned as I'm going through all this is that you have something called a proc coefficient. So you pick up a lot of items that are like chance to do X or Y, and there are some attacks that have a higher chance of activating those triggers than others. So you could end up with like something that has like a very slow fire rate but a very high proc chance. And if you find particular items, you can actually manipulate in such a way so that they always go off just because of the nature of like your basic attack, for example. So there are some characters that benefit more from having like chance on effects, so you might have like a build that focuses purely on those items, so like chance on stun, chance on bleed, chance on kill, etc, etc. Like all of those sort of items come together rather nicely. Right, so where's this portal? I can see it, there it is.
Alright, another follow-up Metacritic type question. Well, this is Open Critic, which is kind of like Metacritic, but it takes everything into account review-wise. What are the top 3 rated games?
Top 3 rated games. Ooh. Now, see, the trouble is I don't know whether to go like way, way back or whether to go like fairly recent, because you can probably almost assume that Breath of the Wild is going to be like a given in that regard, or something similar to that.
Uh-huh.
So, if I'm going to have to take a guess here, I'm going to say Breath of the Wild, the original Final Fantasy VII, and I'm going to take a punt and say Diablo 2, even though I know that's probably wrong.
Alright, at number 3 we have Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay, so I was close. It's basically the same game, let's face it.
That's got a 96. At number 2, we have Breath of the Wild, also with a 96.
Bloody hell. They actually had both.
Right next to each other as well.
Bloody hell.
And, do you want to have a guess at number 1?
Well, let's see. I was right on 1. Well, technically I was right twice on 1. I'll say Final Fantasy VII just because I know Diablo 2 was a bit of a punt.
Super Mario Odyssey.
Odyssey? Oh, yeah. I hadn't actually considered that one, but yeah, all 3 Nintendo games as well, so yeah. Why can't they do that for the Pokemon games, god damn it?
Really?
Alright, so there we go. We've gotten the goodies that we wanted from the blue portal. So the first item we picked up was the one I mentioned earlier that reduces the cooldowns of weapons, but makes it so you always use it. And the equipment item that I opted for is a Spinal Tonic, which increases all of your stats, health regeneration, speed, like damage reduction, basically everything. But the caveat being is if the debuff ever wears off, you end up in crippling debt in terms of all aforementioned stats. But because now that I'm automatically using the item and I've reduced the cooldown enough so that the buff never falls off, I'm essentially in this permanent state of having greatly enhanced stats. And the only time it should, in theory, fall off is like transitioning between levels, but even then it should be fine. So at this point, we can pretty much focus on getting like extra crit, extra like base damage. We'll probably want to get some damage reduction as well. So probably pick up some teddy bears or some armor plating or something like that. Actually, while I'm on the subject of items, one of the things I love when roguelikes do is when they actually show the items visually on your characters. Obviously, in like Binding of Isaac, you like turn into like this monstrosity of just like weird like things going on. And in Risk of Rain, you actually see all the items you collect over the course of the game actually like either on your character or on their back. Like I've got the scythe and the missile launcher on my shoulder here, and you can probably see the Spinal Tonic sort of on my hip as well. It actually shows all the items like relative on the character where you expect them to be. And I love when games do that. Actually, you can probably see as well, you can actually see those glasses I've been picking up as well. Some characters actually wear them, but the bandit opts to just put them on top of his head. Alrighty, let's go see if we can find where the portal is. Oh yeah. Like I can already feel like I'm way more powerful. Like maybe not necessarily like in raw numbers, but just in general. Like even though my revolver damage isn't doing as much at the moment, like all my other attacks are, which is more than making up for it at the moment.
Do you feel sturdier?
Oh yes. Sturdiness is also important. Speaking of which, thanks for reminding me. Damage reduction, also important. So we're going to pick up a rose buckler.
Mm-hmm.
And I like as well how they have like different forms of damage reduction. So usually the white items are like your more generalized ones. So it's like raw crit chance increase or like straight damage reduction or something like that. Whereas the green items, they tend to be more specialized, but are usually more potent as a result. So like for the rose buckler, you get a damage reduction while you're sprinting, which I think is something like 25%, which is like more than like 3 or 4 armor plating shards. But like I said, that's only when you're sprinting, so that's the condition.
Mm-hmm.
So what we are trying to do now is pick up enough of these glasses that we can basically get guaranteed crit. So we need to pick up like another 2, I believe. You can pick up 3, but it's more or less no point because the cipher we picked up also increases our crit chance, so it puts it to like 95% or something like that, which is basically close enough for what we want. And there we go. We should now have guaranteed crit, so we can pretty much focus on stacking different forms of damage increases and then damage reduction.
That fucker with the hammer won't know what hit him.
Hopefully. I mean, we might just be able to just rush straight to him at this point, but I'll probably still try and pick up what I can along the way, just, you know, make sure I've got all the important things shored up.
Why rush when you can just get in with as many power-ups as possible?
Yeah, I mean, this is what command sort of lets you do. It sort of lets you sort of test the limits of what you're confident going in with. Especially if you find like a specific synergy, you might just be able to just beeline for that and think, yeah, that's probably good enough for me. Especially if you've gotten to a point in the game where like you're sort of decently confident. Like, I'd say where I am is probably like decent. I'd say I'm probably decently confident. Like, there are some builds where I can just tell, yeah, I'm just wicked strong. I'm pretty sure I got this no problem as long as I don't, like, fall asleep or anything like that. But then you get some build where it's just like, okay, maybe I can, but I have to be very much on my A game to bring it home. And then there are some builds where you just sort of look and you think, I got literally, like, no damage at all. And this actually creates a bit of a sort of push-pull situation, because you'll get runs, obviously, where you have more damage and damage reduction and vice versa. So you find yourself in situations where you sort of like, if you've got a lot of damage reduction, you're like deliberately sort of taking more risks to get more damage in. And then obviously if you have a lot more damage, you're obviously focusing harder on dodging attacks and things like that than actually trying to do damage to the enemy. Because you know whatever damage you do end up doing, it's going to do a lot. So you're just more focused on staying alive than anything else. Whereas, on the other side, you're just like, I need to do damage by any means necessary, otherwise I'm eventually just going to lose a war of attrition.
Yeah.
Which is not where you want to put yourself, really. Okie dokie, 3rd level. Where are we this time? Oh, different level this time. Wonderful. Although, not one of my favourites, just because there are flying manta ray bastards in it, and I hate them with all of my soul. Probably my least favourite enemy.
I've encountered stuff like that in Xenoblade. I know how you're feeling.
First of all, actually, I think you recently completed Xenoblade Chronicles 3, did you not?
We sure did, and following the conclusion of HFC All-Stars, including the incentive block, we're going to be doing Future Redeem, the DLC for the game.
Oh yes, I've heard some decent things about that, so I reckon you're in for a good time with that one.
Nearly so.
Although that said, you still haven't played Xenoblade Chronicles X, have you?
No, I haven't. I actually found it on the day I think that X went into effect. I'm still calling it Twitter, but just for the sake of the conversation, that X went into effect. I found my still in its wrapper copy of Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Legendary. So, you reckon you'll get into that at some point and complete the set?
I'll wait for like a remaster.
You really think we're going to get one? I think if we were going to get a remaster, we would have gotten one by now, I'm going to be honest.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I mean, I'm very much an advocate for a Xenoblade Chronicles X Remastered, don't get me wrong. I would love that shit. But I feel like at the same time, like, if we haven't gotten it by now, when exactly are we going to get it?
True, although it is very out you're talking about it, and you're trapped on a different planet here and all that.
I unironically really like Xenoblade Chronicles X's music. Like, at
That is
first I thought
great.
it was, like, really, really weird, but then I was just like, you know what, I'm actually jiving with it. And by, like, the 30th time hearing, like, the battle theme music, I'm there singing along with it. Probably, well, I think it was, like, one of my first major streams, like, solo as well, if I think about it. Cause,
What? Xenoblade X?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. I mean, I can't recall anything else. I mean, because obviously I had, like, the fonts and, like, the little things I do sometimes post-font, but I think that was, like, the first stream, like, I was, like, properly getting into, like, HFC stuff fully.
Ah, okay.
Where I did my whole short cosplay and everything, which I'm still rather pleased with.
That is a good cosplay, yeah.
I need to think about what I want to cosplay as at some point when the next time I go to a convention, because obviously now that I've got more disposable income, I could probably, like, spring for something better. Like, maybe I can, like, commission a Kamen Rider suit or something. That would be the bomb.
I mean, shit, if you want to keep it simple, just go with Noah.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. But, you know, owning a rider suit would be kind of bitchin', I won't lie. You know, just live out, like, my fantasy of just practicing henshin poses in the mirror.
Shit, as long as you are paying your bills, I could not give a shit. And speaking of henshins and the like...
Go on.
Did that not get picked up?
No, it did not.
I basically opened my morpher there.
Or maybe that the music on my end's probably on the louder side, so maybe I didn't quite pick it up, I don't know. I'll hear it in post, I'm sure.
All you missed was Tyrannosaurus.
Classic. Ooh, legendary! Oh, okay, this is very important. We need to think very carefully about this. Brilliant Behemoth. All our attacks explode.
Nice.
The other one I probably might have gone for is the Pocket ICBM, or maybe Ben's Raincoat to make us immune to status effects. But I can't remember if the Spinal Tonic we picked up earlier just does that for us anyway, so I'm gonna go for the Brilliant Behemoth for Explodies. Just makes our attacks just that wee bit more potent. Like that. The boss just melted. Now you see him, now you don't. I believe that we, in the current meme trend, call that yeeted and deleted.
Pretty much.
Alright, what do we want for our next green item? Just thinking what I already have and what we could really do with... double jump, that's what we need. So, feather. So I think at this point more damage reduction would probably be better, but I'll pick up some, like, teddy bears and the like. And hopefully that will provide us with survivability that we all know down. Yeah, our revolver's doing like 14k damage now. I think we're good for damage.
I can't really pass if that's good in this scale. Is it good?
Well, considering it's doing like 14 times the amount of our standard attacks, it's pretty damn good.
Okay, yeah, pretty good.
Actually, it's quite funny, especially if you go for the corruption for your glasses that insta-gips things. Rather than just like blowing them up, it like spams the screen with like 500k, like 1 million damage numbers. So it's just like, not only did you kill them, you utterly annihilated them. Just, you know, really drive the point home, I guess. Right, so I'm just thinking internally what I could potentially do. Ah, bloody hell, I missed the Lunar Coin. Oh, well. Oh, hey, we're in the purple dimension. Wonderful. Ooh, if I can find some drones, maybe getting Colonel Drone Man might be an idea. Find a way out of this cave. Just put us in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, just out of the way of all of this.
Is there a reason everything's all red and scary right now?
I think there's probably a reason stated, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But one thing this game does is that as you discover things over time, you do actually pick up lore for it as well. So there is actually lore for like all of these enemies and all the different zones and all the bosses and even all the items. So if you actually sit down and like go through like your old like compendium, you'll actually find like a lot of like these areas are sort of explained, what their greater purpose in the world is, etc, etc. Although I haven't had a chance to do that because usually I just play the game just to, you know, blast the shit out of everything that moves, and that is something this game is incredibly good at. Let's see, we would like... Ooh, movement speed, that's something we want. We'll pick up a few goat hooves, who for some reason belong to Paul. And nope. Now, I will admit to having a little bit of streaming nerves when I first started this back up again, but safe to say it's all gone now. Like, I got back into the zone pretty quickly, luckily.
Yeah, there's been no issues on my end with your conduct so far, good sir.
Good, good. My main concern is if I had my settings right, because obviously this is my first time like streaming at 1080p 60, which I'm pretty sure my upload speed allows for, but you know.
Yeah.
There's always that sort of situation where just like, you're doing it for the first time in a long time, just like, wait a minute, is this upload speed still any good for this, and what have you. Just like, suddenly you come in and say, will this be enough to do the thing I want to do? And just like, all the systems in the universe just scream, no! Get a better computer, you hack.
Yeah.
Or move to a better place in the country for internet.
So what level is this right now?
This is stage 4, so we're nearing stage 5.
Okay, so shall I tell Flame to start getting ready?
I'd say we're probably about, let me see here, 20-30 minutes maybe at an estimate, so if you tell him that much, he can probably glean what he needs to do from there and when. Because we need to kill a few things here to get the legendary chest, which we obviously want.
Julio.
Still trying to work out what legendary item would be like the absolute tits right now, but struggling to think of one specifically. Be nice if there were some enemies. There we go. They were just all behind me for some reason.
Oh, we tried to rush him, but he was too savvy.
We tried to sneak behind him, but he's too fast.
You're behind me, aren't you? No, I'm in front of you. That's like one of my favorite Futurama jokes.
Reminds me of a scene of Blark and Son. It's just like, he's tied to a chair and he's just like, you better tie me down, because otherwise I'll become unstoppable. Unmoored is just like, true, but I've been in your head before. I know how you think. I know how to anticipate your movements. He goes, you want to know the only problem with that? And he's like, what's that then? I'm already gone. It's such a good scene, I love it.
Wait, is that from like one of the newer episodes?
A Blark and Son? I think it was in season 1.
Wait, we're talking about Futurama here, right?
No, I'm talking about Blark and Son specifically. It's like
okay,
another different
no,
thing.
that sounds like it could be an in-universe TV show on Futurama.
Oh yeah, it absolutely could. That being said, have you actually watched any of the new episodes yet?
No, not really.
I was going to wait until they all come out and then maybe binge through them. But apparently he's not doing too badly so far, so you know, that's always good for the sake of instilling hope and optimism into the withered husk of my soul.
Indeed, indeed.
Certainly can't be any worse than what The Simpsons is churning out at the moment.
Yeah, they might as well not exist for all I care about them.
It's a shame as well. Like, I really do think it, like, genuinely outstayed its welcome, like, maybe 5 years ago. Like, especially because now, you know, like, the voice talent's, like, getting older and they don't quite have what they used to in the tank anymore, which is no fault of their own, but it's more like, come on, why force it anymore?
I feel sorry for Marge's voice actress.
Oh yeah, like I think her in particular is maybe the worst culprit of what I just mentioned there. Like you can just tell.
Yeah.
Need a little bit more moolah. Alright, come on. Have a go if you think you're hard enough.
Well, alright, since you mentioned Moolah, I will bring this up. Hail, we are HFC All-Stars, currently raising money for the Child's Play organisation, which is, well, a charity that provides kids staying long-term in hospital for whatever reason with toys and games to help ease their stay. If you want to help us reach our overall goal of 5k, you can click the donate button beneath the stream window, and we're actually doing a Steam code raffle for Sonic Frontiers. Every $5 donation gets you one entry. So, for example, $25, 5 entries. And just make sure you say you want to be entered when you're making a donation. Leave a comment, and there will be a incentive block for games unlocked with donations after the main block is done. So far, we have 2 days worth. That's Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, Fez, and Chrono Trigger. Some very good stuff so far.
Can I just say that when he started actually doing the spiel, the music picked up at the perfect time. It was
well, you
great.
know, that's my stand.
Yeah, it's just like literally as the music kicked in, just like, oh yes, this is the most epic announcement ever.
Oh.
Alright, Imp Overlord. Bye!
Jesus Christ.
It's like imp.exe has performed an illegal operation and will shut down.
Yes, Kyrex, the most metal charity shilling ever.
Oh, hell yeah.
Actually, you know what? Fuck it. This second run has been great. Leave this in, Flame.
Hooray! All according to plan. Alright, where am I? I would like one of these. A topaz brooch, please. Let's see, what do I want now?
Okay, Flame heard. He heard me say I was going to type it, but he heard it.
I guess he's probably listening in while waiting for his cue to start on the old holo cure. Someone's attempting to barb me from a distance. I find that highly illegal. Come on, where is this bastard? Who dares to fire upon me from a great distance? Actually, funny thing is, there's actually an achievement regarding these little guys to unlock one of the items I'm actually using right now. Where you have to force them to run off the edge of the map. Because if you get too close to them, they run away. And you can actually find them after, like, the first loop on, like, levels that have a, like, an actual, like, skybox. Where you can, like, push them off the edge of. So you have to do that, like, 20 times and just sort of lead them off the edge of their own accord. And then you get an item for it, which is, rather fantastic. They're still trying. Just like, I'm long gone and yet they're still bombarding where I was.
Oh, bless.
Alrighty. Fifth stage. And suddenly, using my shotgun at a distance is no longer just, lol, what the hell are you doing? It's suddenly piling in all the damage. Alright. What do we want now? Ukulele, maybe?
I prefer bad jokers, though.
Is there like an actual difference? Well, I suppose there is a difference between a banjo and a ukulele, but, you know, they always seemed... I suppose it's just literally in the sound they make.
And listen, and a bat, what's up with that?
You know, I mean, a ukulele is just like a smaller guitar, pretty much, with banjos.
I know what a ukulele is.
No, I'm thinking more internally to myself to convince myself that I'm not being stupid. Which happens more often than you'd think. Alrighty. Let's take a longish route so that we can get ourselves to a hotel. More damage reduction, sure. It'll be interesting to see how quickly Mithrix goes down with this compared to what we had last time, because toward the end I was doing a lot of running away for my life, which ain't really ideal. You can't do damage while fleeing in sheer terror. Alright, got a few topaz brooches. Should probably pick up a barrel free.
Thank you for subscribing, Ian947. Please be aware, those of you in the chat, that subscribing and using bits does not benefit Child's Play. Please use the donate button specifically for that.
That said, it's always nice if you're enjoying the content enough to subscribe to begin with, so thank you very much.
Indeedy so.
Alright, there we go. So we got ninja shurikens, which make our standard attack occasionally fire shurikens out intermittently, which is very nice if you're just looking to layer on more damage from just like number of attacks more than anything else. And sometimes just having like an extra attack that literally just fires straight forward at a great distance when perhaps you don't normally have that is just insanely good. Alright, let's pick up Teddy Bear, and let's pick up another missile launcher, why not? Just trying to see if there's anywhere else we can potentially grab some goodies before we turn our way to the boss portal. As I look across and notice it's going, I see you. It's just like, yes, I'm aware. My impending doom is coming. I already know this full well.
Oh, you're fine.
Bong. Come on, give me the presents. Wow, that shrine is being particularly stingy. I'm just going to leave it alone.
Where, oh where in Purpletopia will we find the things we need?
The Vaporwave County, as it is also known. I don't know. Maybe a bit too dark on the blues and purples, but it's pretty much there. Maybe we're just in the bisexual dimension. No wonder I felt so at home here.
Oh, bless.
Let's grab some armor plating as well. Some flat damage reduction would probably be handy too. Even if it is just a snifter. A snifter, mister.
Indeed, just a little smidge.
Should probably grab a focus crystal as well. Get some of that aforementioned damage modifier layering I was talking about. Alright, boss time! Who have we got this time? Solus control unit! A lot of Solus control units.
Honestly, you could have said anything and I would have believed it in the game.
Oh yes, that was the brainwave contemporary jazz musician device.
Alan Partridge's second breakfast.
I'm pretty sure that's an item. Suppose we could grab another feather for some more jumps. Maybe a whip as well. That might help us for more speed while sprinting, perhaps. Actually, there is one item I haven't got yet that might be nice to have. Healing seeds. If I can stop getting bounced by the fucking geyser, that would be fantastic. How am I supposed to get this item without it just bouncing me immediately? This is rather irritating, I won't lie. Maybe I'll pick it up after the portal event.
Alright, Flame says he's going to run music for like 5 minutes when he's on, just so you can have a quick break and stretch your legs.
Yep, sounds good to me. I can refill my drink and all that. So, very much appreciated, Flame. Thank you.
What I'm going to do after this is going to go and hug Jiro. That's my kitten, just in case you're unaware.
Fair enough, sees. Alright, so it actually spawned a blue portal randomly. If we took that, it would actually begin the a new loop. So we would go back to the first stage, and we'd obviously play through again from there. So we can go back through all the levels, pick up more items, if we so desired, and all that malarkey. But it's also how you unlock the Obliterate ending and the Void ending, where you use the Void portal and Celestial portal, respectively. So one ending just straight up kills you, as I may have mentioned before, and the other one is sort of like the final boss of the DLC portion of the game. And it's... I'm not sure whether I consider it easier or harder than Mithrix, to be honest with you. Because the trouble is, like, the boss itself isn't too bad. You know, it's fairly big. You can attack it from a fair distance away, no problem. Like, his attacks are fairly decently telegraphed, but the concept of the void makes it so that it can instantly kill you with some attacks if you're not careful. Like, you got like these big AoE bubbles that pop up, and if they explode and you happen to be in them, it instantly kills you. But it also instantly kills any enemies that happen to be there.
Right.
So it's like one of those things where I was like, it's indiscriminate, but it is still very, very deadly, and you still don't want to be caught anywhere near those things. So, especially if you lack mobility and sort of like can't really navigate the usual chaos too effectively, you'll probably wind up dying quite a bit on your first time entering that space. Alright, so where are we going? Ooh, right up there by the looks of it. 1, 2, 3. Internally reminding myself how many jumps I have before I forget I have either too many or too few and miss my stop.
Also, just reminding yourself what's the first 3 numbers.
1, 2, buckle my shoe. Yep. Still remember it.
Still got it.
Hell yeah. So yeah, like, already right away I'm seeing a massive improvement because even at this early stage, my revolver is pretty much killing everything in one hit. From the sheer amount of damage.
So what are we angling for here before we can take on Hammerman?
Well, we just need to activate the pillars as usual. Because we've been choosing our, like, items, there's not really much point in us, like, going to the shop or anything like that, because we pretty much picked everything with the intent of, like, using it as is. So we don't really need to, like, deposit a bunch of stuff to get, like, another legendary item, for instance.
Okay.
So I think we're pretty much good to go. We just need to survive this section, obviously, and then get to Mithrix and apply what we have learned from the last fight to hopefully not die this time. And obviously getting as many kills with our revolver as possible, because that's going to be instrumental still, even though we are still doing, like, a lot of damage just in general. Like, Mithrix is still gonna be a much of the bastard that we just want to power up all of our attacks as much as we can do. Alright, so we've done 2 pillars. I think the third might actually be up here. Ah yes, it is literally right behind the building. And nice of the enemies to spawn behind the wall so that they don't actually attack me. Yes. I can't see you in the chat right now, but I'm hoping you all are having a good time with the fun so far.
Yeah, they've been pretty chill, pretty chill.
Of course, I would expect no less. They're a fine chat.
Okay. We're all good. You don't need to butter them up.
Well, you say that.
So, chat, do you come here often? Yes, every summer, actually, for these charity events. A fat stack of dollary-doos for the kids I see in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Christ, Bob, do you have to do these, like, daredevil jumps?
Kind of. It reminds me I'm alive.
Fair enough.
Like I said, I got triple jumps at the moment. I know I'm good for it.
He's got hops. By God, our boy has hops.
Well, I mean, the game was made by Hoppo, so, you know.
Jesus, you're right.
It's a eat your health one. Okay, we need to be careful here because obviously we've got 3 delicate watches. We don't want to lose those. Especially when we're getting this level of damage out. I'd rather not lose that.
Just reading Twitter here, because obviously there was a Pokemon Presents earlier today, at the time of streaming, and they randomly shadow dropped Pokemon TCG for the Game Boy Color, as well as Pokemon Stadium 2 on Nintendo Switch Online, which makes it very funny that the first Pokemon game on there is Pokemon TCG and not any of the original games.
Well, yeah, that does it does seem a bit weird. But then again, TCG I don't think has had like as many opportunities for re-releases either. And, you know, it's like one of those spin-off games that, you know, you don't need to feel like you have like the previous games or to get the most out of, or have the current game even to get the most enjoyment out of. Although I worry slightly because the Pokemon TCG is like, obviously this is like TCG back in the Game Boy era, and obviously nowadays it's a vastly different beast.
Oh yeah, you know they're actually doing a TCG anime.
Are they?
Yeah, one of the things announced at Pokemon Presents today was like a TCG anime.
Ooh. Getting into the Yu-Gi-Oh biz, are we?
Yeah, I don't know like if it's going to be proper length episodes like your 22-minute sort of thing, but it's definitely something new for Pokemon animation-wise. I'm pretty happy about that.
Ooh, for sure. Like, I'm partly wondering if it's sort of like how they're going to go about it. Sort of like, follow this dude as he enters the TCG World Tournament. Like, I'm kind of amazed Yu-Gi-Oh hasn't led into that super hard outside of the manga.
Yeah.
Because I don't know whether it's an official one or not, but there's a Yu-Gi-Oh manga where they basically just have like super hyper-competitive like players with like super like competitive decks. Okay, Mithrix just lost nearly all of his health in one go.
Fuck! My god, he has learned to use the stairs.
He has, but he also learned that I'm doing a lot more damage than I was previously. I wonder if I could actually one-shot him if I build up my revolver a little bit more here. I'm trying my best not to be overconfident. I'm happy with the damage, I just need to make sure
Stay the course.
I don't fall at the final hurdle, so to speak.
Andrew says watch out for the final phase.
Yeah, I'm aware of the final phase. Alright, so this is the final phase. This is also why we've been building up our revolver. He's going to start eating our items. Or is he? Oh no! I think we just skipped that phase! Okay, that's new. I've never done that before. So actually, what's usually meant to happen is that he eats all of the items that you've collected over the course of the game, and obviously uses their effects for himself. But he is severely gimped in the process, like he's barely like flailing around and like shooting projectiles at you. And as you do more damage, you actually get your items back gradually, and then eventually you're at full power, he's on like next to no health, and then he just dies. But I think because of like, it might be because of like the behemoth or something like that, or maybe like a few missiles hit him just as the phase change was occurring, but somehow we just skipped that whole thing.
Wow. Yeah, definitely leave both runs in at this point.
Yep. So here we go. We now have to escape. We found a way to relieve the portal over the ship, because obviously that was what Mithrix was doing the entire time. Or rather, Mithrix's hold on this realm was what's keeping us from being able to power up the ship. And you may notice that we are being assailed by new things. So these void dudes, for instance, that I was talking about. So that bubble there, if you're in anywhere in its circle, you die instantly. Like, it doesn't matter how much damage reduction you have, it gives you. Simply put. It is not nice. I don't recommend staying in there.
Okay, well, let's stay focused then.
Indeed, indeed. Whoop. That's alright, we got here in decent time. We just need to wait for the ship to charge, and then we could get the fuck out of here. But you know, I still try and kill things anyway, just because, you know, keeps me trigger finger warm. Up! And we're out this bitch!
Huzzah!
Now we get the ending. Or one of the endings.
Nicely done, mate.
Thank you very, very much. I am very glad I got to at least show an ending. I mean, I came in with the very real possibility I'd just, like, die a few times, but be content in actually getting a chance to show off this game in some capacity, because, you know, when am I going to get a chance to?
You shot him with the god thing, and then he just fell over and went to sleep.
He actually did. Just like, fuck that noise! And just like, nope, not having this. So there we go. The moon goes kaput. Eaten by the void. And we narrowly make our escape. And so he left, grateful for his luck. And each character has like their own version of this, of like sort of what happened to them and how like them leaving the planet affected them. So obviously the bandit is a bit like of a mercenary type, you know, he comes in, plunders a planet for like valuables they might be able to take back and sell, and you know, in this case he may be bit off a bit more than he can chew, but thankfully he was just lucky enough to get out of Dodge.
Mm-hmm.
But like you have other ones where it's just like the default character, the commando, I think, like his is just literally, and so he left his music electric or something like that. It's very cute. They love the ukulele in this game, I think it's safe to say. But then again, with music as good as this, you know, probably not surprising that they like their instruments. But there we go. That is a looky at Risk of Rain 2. Obviously, we got to see an ending as well, so we can actually say we beat the game as well in some capacity. So,
indeed, very
happy with that. It is a very, 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 very swell game. Like, honestly, it's probably my favorite roguelike out there at the moment. And it has multiplayer as well, if that's something that you find valuable in your video games, and lends itself quite decently to that as well, I would think. Like, you share items, so obviously only one person can pick them up, but it lets you sort of go, okay, maybe I don't necessarily need this item as much, but this guy might actually get a lot of use out of it. So you sort of like play into each other's strengths and weaknesses in order to sort of like round yourselves off into these big, beefy, unkillable behemoths, which are still very much killable.
Indeed, indeed.
But no, I very, very much recommend this game. But if you want something maybe a bit more current, maybe it might be worth you waiting for Risk of Rain Returns as well, because obviously that's coming out at some point this year. So if that's something you want to try and get into, or you want to get into it with something new on the market, that might be something you might want to try as well. But Risk of Rain 2 is very much different in that degree and plays very much differently too. So I would very much recommend trying both if you get the chance, because honestly, fantastic series. Love it.
For sure, for sure. Coming up next, we have the final game of Day 4, HoloCure, Save the Fans. Volk's going to be on for CoCom for that, but the runner is the one, the only, Flaming Claw.
He is also known by many other names, but we only have access to that Discord channel, so only we know.
the Secret Fist, he who lies behind the scenes.
I was more talking about the fact that he actually changed the Discord username multiple times to something I can't, like Sneed or whatever. I can't remember half of them.
I don't want to talk about it.
The trauma lies deep.
It sure does. So, is there anything after the credits and whatnot?
Well, you get your little stat screen so you can see exactly how well or how badly you did. So, it says time alive. So, you get that one regardless of whether you died or not. Your number of kills you got your damage. So, we dealt quite a lot of damage in that one, which is quite nice. Damage taken very low, which is what we like to see. So low, in fact, it doesn't actually penalize us. Our highest level, gold collected. So it just goes through like a little quick list of sort of like where you did well, where you did particularly poorly, and, you know, obviously says what your difficulty is as well. If we had it on Monsoon, we'd probably get more points than we did, but Monsoon is also significantly tougher. You have a lot less health and a lot less money to play around with, so...
But a lot more memes, which is the main thing.
Yes, indeed. Just when you thought English weather was bad, English summer comes to play.
Oh, Christ on the bike. Alright, folks, that'll do it for Risk of Rain 2. Fantastic stuff here from Volk. He will be back tomorrow with a randomizer run of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. But for now, we're going to, you know, turn the stream off, and it'll be back in a moment with some HoloCure. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.
See you then.